With both Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, we were promised 8K visuals. But what we really are getting is 600p next generation console gaming. Let's look into this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I would like to talk about Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 resolutions and performance in games. I will be focusing mainly on Star Wars Jedi Survivor in this video, but the same issue applies to many games that already launched and probably will launch soon as well. Okay, so I remember when both Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 were launching over 2 years ago now. We were promised like 8K, 4K gaming, 120 FPS games and that kind of stuff, right? And we kind of do get, 120 modes in some games. But when it comes to resolution, it's not actually that great because we're nowhere near 4K or 8K. And don't get me wrong, I did not believe that we would get 8K gaming really, even though PlayStation 5 has 8K on the box and it still doesn't support it. So that's a nice marketing trick, I guess. But even 4K gaming is very difficult. And I did say even in many of my previous videos that 4K gaming is out of the question really, especially when it comes to like running games at 60 or even higher frame rate, right? So I did not expect like all these games to run it even at 4K, but I was hoping maybe for 1440p and that kind of stuff, right? But what we really are getting right now, more and more, because this is not the first game like that. Like Dead Space, I remember, is dropping a resolution big time as well, I think. There were some other examples in the past as well. And what we're actually getting is games that actually running like at way lower resolution than 1080p. And it's not even like 900p, it's like 650p in some cases, which is kind of embarrassing really. But you know what, let me show you some examples. So this is VG Tech YouTube channel description of one of his videos. So obviously this description applies to Star Wars Jedi Jedi Survivor. So as you can see, PlayStation 5 in performance mode uses a dynamic resolution with highest rendering resolution found being 1536 by 864, so 864p, and the lowest resolution found being 1152 by 648, so that's 648p, right? PlayStation 5 in performance mode uses FSR2 to reconstruct 1296p resolution, right? So it's not even reconstructing to like 1440p. And Xbox Series X looks a little bit better when it comes to resolutions, but it's not major difference either, because in performance mode, it's using dynamic resolution scaling as well, and the highest rendering resolution found being is 1621 by 912, and the lowest one is 1216 by 684p. So the lowest resolution is literally, very similar to slightly higher than PlayStation 5, and the highest resolution is slightly higher than PlayStation 5's too. But you know what? It's just a couple of pixels, so you won't even notice really. And it's reconstructing to a slightly higher resolution at the end as well. It's using FSR 2.0. And so this is, we're talking about very low numbers. Like people were losing their minds over 720p games last generation. Like Xbox One got so much shit for running games at 720p, and now next generation consoles are actually not capable even running these games at 720p when it comes to native resolutions. And these consoles are way more powerful than last generation consoles, right? Not to even mention they are way more powerful than Xbox One X, for example, not to mention even Xbox One. And I know that they are using these reconstruction techniques and that kind of stuff, right? But man, I mean, how is it possible that we go from literally, really 4K gaming at 4K at 30 frames per second with PlayStation 5 Pro and Xbox One X, well, maybe 1440p really, to this? And, we're talking about like way more powerful consoles. And I understand that at some point, one part of the problem is probably the memory, and that applies to both consoles really, because 16 gigabytes is actually not a lot of memory. And these next-gen systems or next-gen games are still not using, SSDs properly to stream data and that kind of stuff, to kind of offload the memory and that kind of stuff, right? But listen, 684p, 648p, are you joking me? I mean, we're talking about Xbox Series X, 12 teraflops machine, PlayStation 5, 10 point something teraflops machine. Like, you would expect these to actually, do much better. And you know what? A resolution mode is not actually that better, because PlayStation 5 in resolution mode uses a dynamic resolution with highest rendering resolution found being 2346 by 1320, and the lowest resolution found being 1728 by 972. PlayStation 5 in resolution mode using FSR to reconstruct to 4K resolution. So obviously this will end up being much sharper, but it's like the lowest resolution is still not that great, right? Much sharper obviously than performance mode, but still Xbox Series X is not that much better. It offers slightly higher resolutions, the render resolutions, and it's using FSR to reconstruct to 4K too. But like I said, that's not going to be a massive difference. When it comes to performance, PlayStation 5 runs this game better. I guess what I'm trying to say, well, it offers more consistent frame rate. But listen, I'm not a developer, right? And I probably I should not be laughing, because I know development is hard, and especially when it comes to games like that. And I know that this game is using ray tracing too. So maybe it's actually not a good idea to push ray tracing really, right? Because not only we are getting low resolutions, but also inconsistent frame rate. I mean, at some points, the performance mode drops frame rate to like 35 frames per second on both Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. That's not great. When it comes to Xbox Series S, well, it has only one mode, I think. Xbox Series S uses a dynamic resolution with highest rendering resolution found being 900p and the lowest resolution found being approximately 738p. Pixel counts at 738p were rare on Xbox Series S. Series S uses FSR 2.0 to reconstruct to a 1080p resolution. Funny enough, even Xbox Series S offers higher resolutions, but that's actually 30 frames per second mode. And I don't think Xbox Series S offers ray tracing. So I don't think, don't quote me on that, but that's another thing. So my question would be really, why not offer a mode without ray tracing on these other consoles too? I mean, that would improve performance and resolutions greatly. Like me personally, I don't really care about ray tracing, right? I mean, I can live with screen space reflections, to be honest with you, right? As long as I'm getting, nice crisp image and stable 60 frames per second, or at least, well, more stable than what it is, right? And I know that there will be some patches, and I do actually hope that they will offer a patch where they would disable ray tracing on consoles, on these PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X consoles, because that would improve things greatly. And this title is actually one of the examples of developers pushing for fidelity over performance and that kind of stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I love pretty looking games, but gameplay and fluidity and that kind of stuff of a game is much more important than some fancy graphics settings, in my opinion. Even on PC, when I play games on PC, I rather to play on medium than high or ultra settings with frame drops. To be honest with you, I don't even play at ultra at all because it's just a performance hog on PC. So whenever I've got a game, even if a game is not necessarily too demanding, I usually go with the highest setting, with the high settings anyway, because ultra, will probably just make my PC sweat for no reason, because I don't really see any difference when it comes to graphics anyway. So I don't want to criticize this particular developer too much, and obviously this video is more a global approach to gaming and what we are actually getting on these consoles. But I don't know, like, guys, I think that generally speaking, developers should consider making games, and should consider gamers that are kind of got used to like 60, because I understand that this game actually runs pretty well at 30 frames per second, right? And I know that on consoles, there's a lot of console gamers that don't care about 60, so 30 is fine for them. But yeah, it's just, listen, at the end of the day, I was hoping for a generation where we would not be having these issues anymore. Like 720p games on Xbox, on most powerful consoles. Are you joking me? Like, it's just doesn't really look that great. Like, it's a bad PR in my opinion. And like I said before, I'm not saying that the game is bad, right? I'm not saying don't play Jedi Survivor. I'm just saying that, yeah, it's a shame that, yeah, it's just not really running that great. This is another example of a, great game that is being kind of hammered a little bit by, technical issues. And I'm sure that some of these issues will be ironed out, especially on PC. And new PC cards will be available, and actually you can play this game on PC now with after most recent patches quite nicely, and so like 60 frames per second, 1440p, still with some upscaling, sure, but it still offers a bit sharper image, and I'm sure that there's going to be some additional patches later as well. So I personally don't think that this game on consoles will ever run at smooth 60 frames per second, unless we're going to get these mid-gen upgrades, just like it was a case with previous game on Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro, where 60 frames per second mode was just not great. But, last generation, we knew that PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X were not a 60 frames per second kind of consoles, so that was understandable. With these, well, and I know that people will say, oh, they will optimize this game. I sure hope they will, and the part of optimization is actually downgrading the graphics a little bit. So me personally, I wouldn't mind having the graphics downgraded a little bit in performance mode, just to hit that 60 frames per second. Like I said, like, turn off that bloody ray tracing, straight away, right now. But hey, this is just me, and I know that different people have different well, you know, opinions, and some people just don't mind. But anyway, it's a bit embarrassing that these next-gen consoles actually runs games at 650p. Can you believe it? But anyway, guys, so that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.